Okay, last video in this series of recordings, and because I didn't mention it in the previous video at the end there, hi, I'm Umbra Rays. Alright, so here we go. We're going to be talking about JP predictions for the month of July. I used to do this a lot more during Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, kind of doing predictions just as a fun thing, and I've kind of more recently haven't done it with Wotv. Obviously Intervisions is a thing where it's just commentating, but I thought it would be kind of fun to get back and talk about the month of July since there is a little buzz, and actually it was kind of because of a specific comment by Lou Gate, a first-time viewer and first-time commentator. Gotcha. Anyway, yeah. He's been around a while. Anyway, he posed an interesting comment recently that kind of got me off track while I was trying to exactly remember what I was going to say. But he said, do you think that there's a chance that the beach units might not just happen? Maybe it's going to be Olympics units. Well, before we get into that, let me remind you that there's going to be a live stream on June at the Japanese Standard Time. JP live stream and tournament and July news. All right, you've been needlessly reminded, so that's when we're going to find out the answers in a few short days. But getting back to it, previous year was the addition of Summer Ketone as well as Summer Lilith, two beach basic characters that were, and I think in the month of August we saw Final Fantasy IV, if I'm remembering exactly correctly, which, it's been a year. Don't necessarily remember, and this isn't my life, per se. So yeah, but here we are in another month of July, and the question has been posed, with the Olympics coming to Japan, do you think that this is going to be a thing? And my immediate answer is no. I don't think that the Olympics are going to see any kind of a collaboration for a couple of reasons. First of all, while thematic-based characters are usually not a problem, like something like is very universal, like if you think about it, like beach units, like people may hate the beach because the sand is rough and coarse and it gets everywhere, but for the most part people kind of just it's summer beach units. It's a pretty easy sell, right, for people, right, providing that it's nothing too entirely poorly made or poorly conceived or poorly realized kind of thing. But in terms of the Olympics, I don't see it happening for a couple of reasons. First of all, there didn't seem to be any problem the previous year. Like, the Olympics was delayed an entire year. It was supposed to be happening last year. And because of coronavirus, the Olympics was postponed, essentially, and now it's happening this year. But Gumi seemed to just have those beach units ready. Like, it wasn't like a last-minute thing. It was kind of a thing they kind of had already done. But like, if you take a look at the partnership of the Olympics, since the IOC is pretty, to do something as kind of a partnership or have any association with the Olympics, you kind of have to have permission and whatnot. And Square Enix doesn't seem to have any ties with the Olympics at all. Like, Sega and Nintendo have a much bigger tie to the Olympics. I first of all don't think, it's not going to happen. I don't see an Olympics thing for that reason alone. But if you take a look at the general consensus of how the Olympics has been viewed here in Japan for the last year, not exactly the most popular topic among Japanese people, where with more recent polls kind of trending especially into the higher percentages that a lot of people are just not happy about it. People aren't interested in it. People want it canceled. But, IOC contracts and all of that stuff and money exchanging hands, that's just not going to be the outcome. It really is just I just don't see it as a thing that could potentially ever happen, mainly because it's just a thing that I think has no place in Wotv. Like, there's no partnership with Square Enix. Square Enix isn't doing any Olympics-based projects before this. They don't seem to be helping with anything, and they're not the video game company that seems to have partnered with the the IOC, quote unquote. So yeah, because this isn't a Sega game and whatnot, I don't think it's going to happen. But also, this isn't a shot against anyone who commented or maybe thought about this happening. But I think that this just won't happen for another specific reason, which is just the concept of having sports versions of these characters in a world that really doesn't have any trace of sports whatsoever. Like, in terms of like the Wotv world and the Brave Exvius world, Brave Exvius maybe had a little more set dressing and a little more, informed world and whatnot, but Wotv doesn't have that. Wotv doesn't have really. We know that people fight in the Wotv world, and that's about mostly it. Love, fight, maybe steal, maybe throw someone in jail, but in terms of like fun pastimes, it's not exactly Wotiv's world vibe, if you catch my drift. Like, even so having a character with a basketball or a hockey stick or anything like that just feels incredibly odd. Like, short of a collaboration with a sports-based game, I don't see that happening. Also, because the next collaboration that we've kind of been announced already that was kind of just weird and odd was the Tomb Raider, which we still haven't really heard anything about. Maybe that's going to be on the live stream for July. But honestly, I think that this is just completely not going to happen. But I want to expand a little bit more by saying that if it was to happen, I'd actually would like it to be kind of a blitzball thing. I would like it to be, if they're going to do that kind of thing and ever throw into any kind of sports related thing, make it like an actual part of the universe. Don't just be a lazy, shitty thing that's just like, hey, look, it's a basketball. Isn't it weird to see a basketball? It is. I don't think it has any point. I don't think we need basketball Victoria. Although Basketball Dragoon seems kind of cheating, to be totally fair. Like, I think that they should commit and actually make something in the Wotv world that is kind of a separate game. Maybe it's okay, gambling's a little on the nose, but, given the game. But I think that if they're going to do that, they should actually commit, and someone should design and have fun with the idea and not just be a blatant cash grab. But I just don't think that there's any validity to the idea of any kind of Olympic collaboration. For one, there hasn't been any hints at it. There's no other Square Enix properties that seem to be doing anything. There hasn't been anything announced, any hushes, any whispers, or any lead up to it. It feels pretty disconnected from Wotv. But more than that, if it ever does happen that there's any kind of sports related thing, I would love to see it as an actual project of love and not just shallow, because I will be pretty uninterested in it. And I'm not interested in the idea of necessarily even predicting it, because if it's just the Olympics, it's going to feel really shallow and really dated, and right now it feels not good with the current climate in Japan, and I just think it would be a money loser for them. They'd have to pay for licensing issues, or it would be thinly, vaguely related to the Olympics, and it's either going to be half-assed or not appealing given what it feels like right now, short of people liking the characters that might be versions of it. So yeah, I think that in all honesty, beach units are probably the most likely thing to happen. And, there are probably going to be a few characters that are on the chances of getting new versions this year. I feel like a lot of the time we end up getting characters that haven't really seen a lot of. So, just out of fun for predictability, let's just say that it is going to be beach units. Who do I think are the most two likely? I'm going to pick two. I'm going to pick two specific units, and I'm going to pick one male and one female, because the chances of us getting 0 females in a year, given that money, is probably incredibly unlikely. But I do think that they kind of want to throw one male character in just so they can say, hey, we have a male for the beach unit. So gender equality, right? And equality in general. But actually, the two units just appear very close in this. I actually think we're going to see Seymour and Miranda as our two new beach units this year. Why? Miranda is kind of fairly popular, but she hasn't really had anything done with her. She's essentially pretty much a launch character in terms of this game. She's been in the game for a while. She hasn't got her EX. Maybe you throw her EX in the same month as her, or 1 month later, and that gives her an excuse to put that EX in the game, which is something that I am definitely waiting for. Well, we're waiting. I'm waiting. But yeah, I think Miranda kind of fits and would be a really good little beach unit to have in the game. I think he's, thematically kind of fits there with her element and whatnot, and you can have a little fun with it. Seymour, however, I think is just kind of a popular enough character to actually earn it. Like Engelbert, Beach Engelbert, sure, that is also another possibility. You could see a lot of different characters as beach units. There's a lot of characters, Lucia or Monera, I don't know. There's a lot. But looking in terms of, what they kind of feel like recently, it feels like, maybe a lower tier character gets a little bit of a chance to shine as a UR. So, and Seymour seems like he's a pretty popular unit on both versions. So I could see the appeal of making him just give him a new unit, give him a new version of himself. Why the heck not? So I'm just going to make just those predictions and see what happens kind of thing. I'm not too worried about it. But on the off chance that both of these things are wrong, what do I think is going to be the, potentially the new additions? Maybe we're just going to see some story characters. Maybe we're going to see a side story. Maybe we're not going to see a side story next month, because if you think about it, we have more recently ended up getting a fair amount of side stories, and maybe the big thing this next month is we're going to get a repeat of an old collaboration. Maybe we're going to see Tactics or Final Fantasy IV return with a chance for them to get their EXs, because it has been a little while now since FF7 has ended. Maybe we just see some story characters. There's no representative for the Hinder Nation currently in the rosters, so let's get one. We got 3 good options right here, and they have been prominently focused upon in the story, which is kind of spoilers, but not overly. So, I'm going to say one of these 3 is actually going to end up for our month of July, with the mid-month maybe just being beach units. Not entirely sure, but if it is the Hinder Nation, I'm kind of in incredible danger, because I'm really excited for all of the Hinder Nation guys. Anyway, probably going to be the one in the middle, because he's like the leader, and 100 cost unit. You have to have a 100 cost unit every month, or everyone in the community will die. I don't know. What are your predictions? Let me know. Umber Rays is my name. Not really. It is my alias, but if you would, make some predictions, have some fun. The month of July is pretty open as to what it could be. But there you go. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, and see you next time.